let's move to our final question. So we spoke about VPN. We spoke about how the compliance and governance gets affected when people start using freemium and consumer apps. What else do we need to consider to secure these dispersed and diverse and distributed workers in the virtual workplace?
Well, one of the things that's come. Sorry, please go ahead.
I think one of the things that's going to be very interesting going forward here is just going back to thinking about business continuity in the broadest sense, right? We are increasingly, we are in a data-driven world, and data is enabling new products, new services, new business models. But I think it's also going to enable different approaches to thinking about business continuity as well, because if you think about some of the technologies that we have coming down the pipe with AI and 5G connectivity and the Internet of Things, and the ability through that to be able to monitor and really understand what is going on in your broader business environment, both inside the company and outside the company, right? And that is going to lead to opportunities in business continuity to be able to be more predictive, to use data to understand when things are going to potentially go wrong, or to understand trends that are going on in the environment of the type of business that you operate in, and therefore to be better prepared. So I think there are opportunities actually bringing this sort of right back into thinking about business continuity itself. I think there are going to be opportunities in how some of the new technologies that we're seeing today will enable a better prepared and faster response to crisis situations in the future through some of these technologies.
I think organizations.
Sorry.
You go ahead, David.
I'm just going to touch on the data point. I think for me, when we've been talking about this internally, we want to bring more agility to the business leaders to try experiment with the business, because no one's quite sure how the business is going to change over the next year. We're all guessing a little bit, but in order to fix that circle, we've got to give them the data immediately to see how the business changes that they're making are impacting their business. So I think going forward, there's going to be an increased need for us to provide the right data platforms for people to see the results of the changes they're making quickly. And again, that's just a self-reinforcing circle. Try business change. What was the impact? Try something else. What was the impact? Because we're all guessing. I'm certainly guessing as to how our business is going to evolve.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a call for more flexibility, more agility in network infrastructures and communicating platforms. And I think that there's going to be perhaps, and it'd be interesting to see how this pans out, more demand for global providers rather than organizations trying to build a patchwork quilt between providers. Now, maybe that's something that will evolve as well over time, but just to have one provider that can provide the agility and flexibility globally may become more attractive as organizations look for a bit more security, a bit more stability, and the agility and flexibility to go with that.
I mean, as we're kind of talking about a geographically dispersed workplace, the thing that resonates to me is our strategy over the last few years has always been firmly based upon cloud-based delivery and mobile-first architecture, and it's that combination that really ensures that our data and our systems are fully accessible at the very edge of our operations. So it doesn't matter whether our staff are working from the office, or whether they're on a greenfield site pre-operations, or even during the live operations at a tournament. The mode of access and operations remains exactly the same wherever our staff choose to or need to work, and we've enabled them not to feel like they're contacting with technology but with content, and therefore, you know, their location wherever they are in the world is simply an extension of the office, and that feels about right for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that in terms of one of the big issues, and we could spend all day talking about security. We see it in the press all the time, more and more compromises happening. I think there's a lot of work still to be done in educating users. You know, I wonder how many users sit in their home office with a smart speaker next to them, and do they know what that means? And they're the new threats from the home working, along with all the threats that were there. I think the same principles still exist about being able to detect, respond, and recover from either minor or major cyber incidents. But actually, I'm constantly surprised by the number of organizations that don't have the deep capability to detect compromises into their organizations, into their data, into their systems, for lots of reasons. And I think that you know, we need to move more quickly to zero trust environments and electronics rights management and all these kinds of things. That often legacy stops us getting there, because it sounds good on the tin, and then when actually you get into it, there's always lots of legacy reasons. I see people nodding. Yeah, there's, you know, we all have these challenges in our organizations in terms of deployment, but actually, I think that the cybersecurity question remains largely unanswered at the moment in this new environment, and there's lots of unknowns because of the home working. You know, I think it's when people are in their offices, at least we know they're behind their corporate firewall. Soon as they're working but home, we're relying on the level of security of their home router. And I think there's a whole host of risks that we're going to have to address over the coming months and years.
Definitely, really great observations.
Tim, let me elaborate a little bit. I see a triangle of topics we need to cover to secure the dispersed virtual workplace. First is technology. It needs to be there, and we need to use the tools. We need to use the backbone infrastructure. But secondly, it's the people. So we need to address a topic, how the people use these workplaces throughout the geographies. And thirdly, how do we lead? So the leadership aspect, and that is pretty important. How can you motivate? How can you bring forward your teams? And so this kind of needs to imbalance this kind of triangle. So it's really getting beyond the sole IT perspective, in my view.
Thank you, Thomas. We've gone the full circle really about the people, processes, and technology. The old sort of the old sort of maxim that was sort of decades old, where people sort of said, well, you can do the technology, you've got to think about the people and the processes. It feels like it's done the whole circle, and perhaps adding culture to it as well. Gentlemen, I'm really respectful of your time. Thank you ever so much for your contributions.